In baseball, numbers are everything. Miles per hour is one of the most important numbers for any flamethrowing pitcher. Pitch radar has been documented as early as the 1910s. Today, every aspect of the game is being tracked, from how fast a player runs to the angle a pitcher releases the ball, and even how many times a ball spins on its way to home plate. But miles per hour is the one metric that all pitchers chase. From the days of Bob Feller to Nolan Ryan, to Randy Johnson, to a young Aroldis Chapman, nothing scared hitters more than a pitcher that could reach triple digits in miles per hour. However, the game is evolving, and almost every team has multiple guys who can do this. Now the bar has been raised, and amongst pitchers, there are an elite few nearing 106 miles per hour. But what does that matter? The record for the fastest pitch ever thrown has stood for 14 years now. Pitchers are balancing on the line of what is humanly possible each and every day, but pretty soon, someone will come along and beat this once seen as impossible record. This is the race to 106 miles per hour.
Bob Feller gives him a head start of 10 feet before he throws the ball.
Tell us what we're looking at. What did that arm do?
Threw a ball faster than anybody's ever lived.
Wow, is he throwing hard. Holy cow, what smoke. Yeah, he threw it up to 104. Wow. And at 106, that would be a new record for the hardest pitch ever thrown. Swinging and a miss, strike three. It was 105.5 miles an hour. No way. 105.5.
You may be looking at the hardest throwing individual that's ever been on this planet.
When he hit 105, I looked at that and said, at this moment, I think I've seen something I'll never see again. And if I do see it again, it'll only be from this pitcher here.
It wasn't until 2008 where MLB implemented a standard pitch tracking software in all 30 ballparks. So records of pitch velocity over time have not been consistent across the board. This hasn't stopped the appeal to measure how hard one can throw, even before radar guns. The first record of pitch speed was in 1917 when Walter Johnson was tested in a laboratory and they concluded that he threw 134 feet per second, which translates to 91.36 miles per hour. This was the first recorded pitch, so it stood as the record until this was tested again. 30 years later, Bob Feller was regarded as the fastest throwing pitcher in baseball, so he wanted to measure this. There are numerous claims of how fast Feller could actually throw a ball. All are extremely questionable, and none can be proven valid due to the unique nature they were found. Feller once conducted a speed test using a motorcycle. A motorcycle lined up next to him and drove 86 miles per hour, while Feller threw a pitch at the target. Since the baseball beat the motorcycle to the target, it was concluded Feller threw more than 86 miles per hour. But this test didn't give an exact number, like Feller wanted. So he tried army equipment that previously was used to measure artillery shell velocity, and it captured this fastball speed at 98.6 miles per hour. This mark stood as the fastest pitch ever recorded. Eventually, in 1974, radar guns were adopted across MLB, as each stadium used these to measure pitch speed. Nolan Ryan was the first MLB pitcher to have his pitch tracked by a radar gun during a game. In the '74 season, Ryan recorded a top speed when he threw a pitch 100.9 miles per hour. The craziest part of this record is it came in the 9th inning of a game he started. Even more crazy is that Ryan's pitch was measured 10 feet in front of home plate. Today, all MLB radar guns are set to record pitch speed out of the pitcher's hand, since this is the fastest point. When the proper adjustments are made, Ryan's 100.9 mile per hour fastball becomes closer to 108.5. At least that's what some think. If Ryan really threw 108.5 miles per hour, that would mean he threw nearly 3 miles per hour faster than any pitcher today. With how baseball and sports have generally evolved, this makes it super hard to believe that he was this far ahead of modern pitchers, let alone in the 9th inning of a game. For the context of the records, we'll stick to the original reading of the pitch and say that Ryan threw 100.9 miles per hour. Despite the fact that he maybe threw marginally faster, it's just hard to tell with how the pitch was measured at the wrong distance. We're not going to be like twin galaxies with Billy Mitchell here and buy into fake records with overwhelming evidence that says otherwise. As baseball progressed through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we saw a decrease in starting pitchers pitching the whole game. Pitcher health became more prominent, and the guys who would try and max out their pitch speed were better suited for the bullpen, as they could afford throwing max effort every single pitch. Nobody represented this better than the early 90s Reds all-star reliever, Rob Dibble. Every night he stepped on the mound, you never knew what you were going to get. Some nights, he would be pissed and just try and start fights. Other times, he couldn't find the strike zone. But he could also at times be the most dominant pitcher in baseball. What never changed was that Dibble would try and throw his hardest every single pitch. The 6'4", 230-pound pitcher could really generate velocity. He took a unique approach where he had a super high leg kick and would put all of his weight on his back foot before quickly rotating and whipping everything to his front leg. Nolan Ryan's 100.9 mile/hour record for the fastest pitch stood for 18 years, but every pitch Dibble threw, he tried to top this. He finally surpassed it in 1992 when he threw a pitch at 101 miles/hour, edging out Ryan's record by just 0.1 miles/hour. Dibble became the first pitcher to officially hit 101, setting a new standard for velocity. This speed can be confirmed as it was recorded with the standard process of picking up the velocity as it left his hand. All future records discussed followed this same standard. By the mid-90s, pitchers were evolving, with many regularly reaching the 100 miles/hour mark. Dibble was not alone in this elite group. Several other flamethrowers, including Armando Benitez, Billy Wagner, Randy Johnson, Mark Wohlers, and Rob Nen, were also consistently clocking pitches around 100 miles/hour, revolutionizing the game with their speed. It didn't take long for someone to surpass 101. In spring training of 1995, Mark Wohlers hit 103 miles/hour, and although he never hit 103 in a regular season game, he hit 102 multiple times in the 1995 season, giving him the record for the fastest pitch in an official game. 102 was the mark to beat for years, and multiple guys tied Wohlers. Some of the record-tying pitches were iconic, like on the biggest stage in Game 1 of the 1997 World Series. The Marlins were beating the Indians 7-4 going into the 9th inning. Marlins closer Rob Nen came in to face the top of the lineup and quickly got into trouble, giving up 2 hits.
This ball is jolted to right. Sheffield after it, can't get it. One hop against the wall. Bonilla with a diving play. He throws across the diamond. Safe.
Then, with 1 out and the game-tying run at the plate, he was facing Jim Thome, one of the best home run hitters in the league. One mistake from Nen, and this would be a tied game. Though, this was when the adrenaline kicked in. Nen's first pitch, Thome couldn't catch up to. Then he blew 101 by him to go up 0-2 in the count. At this point, Nen knew that he had to give it all he had for one more pitch to get out of this, and that's exactly what he did. Firing this 102 miles/hour pitch past him for the strikeout, Nen and the Marlins went to escape the jam, winning Game 1, and eventually winning the World Series in 7 games. This one pitch was not only crucial for the Marlins clinching the World Series, but it tied an all-time record in baseball. In 2004, Randy Johnson had one of the most iconic moments of his legendary career. Known as one of the most intimidating and dominant pitchers to ever stand on the mound, Johnson's fierce presence and devastating fastball struck fear into hitters for years. What often gets overlooked, however, is his extraordinary longevity. At 40 years old, when most pitchers had long since lost their edge, Johnson was still at the top of his game. In fact, in 2004, one of the best seasons of his career, he led the league with a staggering 290 strikeouts and finished second in Cy Young voting, a testament to his enduring dominance. But it wasn't just his box score stats that year that left an incredible mark on baseball history. In that same season, defying age and expectation, Johnson unleashed the fastest pitch of his entire career, an astonishing 102 mile/hour fastball. At the time, this made Johnson one of only 4 pitchers to join the exclusive 102 club. Tying the all-time record, Johnson's blazing fastball was a fitting exclamation point on a career that had already seen its share of legendary moments. But just 2 years later, a new face appeared, one who threatened to shatter Johnson's shared record. In 2006, 21-year-old flamethrower Joel Zumaya made his MLB debut, and from the moment he stepped on the mound, it was clear he was a force unlike anything Major League Baseball had ever seen. Zumaya wasn't just fast, he was otherworldly. That season, he unleashed 233 pitches over 100 miles/hour, more than double the total from the rest of the league combined. which managed only 102 such pitches.
We'll know where every radar gun is in the stadium, and if not, I will find it. Just what I feed on. I know if I threw it by you at 101, I know I can do it again, and I'll try to do it harder.
Zumaya didn't take long to cement himself in the record books in quite a strange way. In his 16th career game on May 20th, 2006, he was facing Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. with the bases loaded. Zumaya knew he needed to put something extra on this pitch to get it past him, so he unleashed and threw a record-setting 104-mile-per-hour pitch.
Here's Junior. 0 for 3 tonight. First pitch swinging, fouls it off.
First pitch 104.
Then, a pitch later, Zumaya tied the record again, throwing his second pitch of the at-bat at 104. The only problem was this time Griffey was unfazed.
The 1-1. Swung on and belted. Way back into the night and back into the seats. It's a grand slam for Ken Griffey Jr. He absolutely crushed it.
Despite getting rocked on his record-tying pitch, Zumaya was amazing in his rookie season. He hit 103 consistently and even hit 104 a few more times. He finished his rookie season with a 1.94 ERA and was the anchor for the Tigers bullpen going into the playoffs. This was on prime display during the ALDS against the dominant Yankees, where he hit 103 multiple times, helping lead the Tigers to an upset win. Then came the ALCS, where Zumaya did the unthinkable. In Game 1, he shattered his own record, throwing an astonishing 104.8 miles per hour, the fastest pitch ever recorded. The baseball world was left in awe, wondering if Zumaya would be the one to break the mythical 105 barrier. But the story took a sudden, unexpected twist. Zumaya didn't pitch again for the rest of the postseason. News broke that he'd suffered a wrist injury, not from throwing, but from an unlikely source, playing Guitar Hero. Tigers GM Dave Dombrowski confirmed the bizarre case, and with that, Zumaya didn't pitch again in the ALCS. So 104.8 is where the record stood for 4 years. The young flamethrower who seemed destined to redefine the limits of pitching never fully recovered. Injuries plagued the rest of his career, and he never threw over 40 innings again. In 2010, Zumaya's career came to a heartbreaking end when he fractured his elbow on the mound. For a brief moment, it looked like Joel Zumaya could have been the first pitcher to hit 105 miles per hour. Instead, his career ended in what felt like the blink of an eye, leaving fans to wonder what could have been. 64 days after Zumaya threw his last career pitch, Aroldis Chapman threw his first. Chapman, from the moment he joined MLB, had record-breaking potential, but this could have never happened if it weren't for what he did before joining MLB.
Baseball player from Cuba, widely thought of as the top left-handed pitching prospect in the world, has slipped away from the Cuban team. He vanished. And while the details of his defection are a mystery tonight, his reasons for leaving are not.
Aroldis Chapman didn't have the average path to the majors. Growing up in Cuba, he didn't start pitching until he was 15 years old, but his talent developed quickly. By 17, he had earned a spot on the Cuban national team, and by 19, he was already throwing 102 miles per hour. This incredible velocity made him one of the most coveted pitching prospects in the world. But there was a significant obstacle. Chapman was trapped in Cuba, where any attempt to leave the country risked arrest or even worse. Knowing he could earn millions playing baseball in the US, Chapman decided that escaping Cuba was his only path to a better life. He and a teammate arranged a boat ride to flee the country, but their plan was foiled when the police arrived. As punishment for attempting to defect, Chapman was banned from playing baseball. Desperate to regain his career, he made a deal with the Cuban government to act as an informant, reporting on those who try to smuggle baseball players out of the country. This agreement allowed him to rejoin the national team after serving a 1-year suspension. Then, in 2009, during a tournament in the Netherlands, Chapman made a bold decision. Without telling anyone, not even his teammates, not his family, or even his pregnant wife, he fled from the team's hotel. This time he succeeded with the help of a US baseball agent and escaped to Andorra. While there, he secured a work visa to the United States, and soon after, Chapman signed a 6-year, $30 million deal with the Cincinnati Reds. finally achieving the freedom and future that he dreamed of. After just 39 minor league games, he was ready to be called up in August of 2010, and in that moment, Major League Baseball was about to be introduced to arguably the hardest throwing pitcher to ever step on the planet.
Sometimes you go up there and take one pitch, you can hear the ball go past you. Oh yeah, you can hear that. Oh, it you be like, gosh, I gotta get the head out. I ain't ready for this.
You may be looking at the hardest throwing individual that's ever been on this planet.
Number one thing going through my head is I don't want to die. I mean, him throwing a pitch that hard, and sometimes he gets a little wild.
In Chapman's first career game, he had a 1-2-3 inning, touching a top speed of 103 miles per hour. Over the next few weeks, Chapman consistently hit 103 and 104. But on September 24th, 2010, we saw Chapman throw a ball harder than anyone else has ever thrown. This pitch ended up being clocked in at 105.8 miles per hour. This was the first pitch ever recorded over 105 miles per hour, and it smashed Joel Zamaya's previous record by 1 whole mile per hour. To be able to throw a ball this hard felt next to impossible, and Chapman was in a club of his own. It was believed that this record would stand unless Chapman broke it himself.
When he hit 105, I looked at that and said, this moment, I think I've seen something I'll never see again. And if I do see it again, it'll only be from this pitcher here.
Chapman threw a few more pitches around 105 in the 2010 season. And then in early 2011, he threw this pitch to Andrew McCutchen, which originally read as 106 miles per hour.
That one at 106. That would be a new record.
It looked like he had not only become the first person ever in the 105 mile per hour club, but also the first in the 106 club. However, the stadium read this wrong, and according to the pitch tracking software in the ballpark, it was only 105 miles per hour. Still a super impressive feat, to say the least. Although, after this 105 mile per hour pitch, Chapman went 5 years without throwing any pitches 105 or more. In 2016, on the Yankees, Chapman was back to his full strength and threw 7 105 mile per hour pitches in a 2-week span. One pitch hit 105.7 miles per hour, which was the second fastest pitch ever thrown. After this 2-week stretch, Chapman's velocity went back down, and he didn't hit 105 miles per hour for the next 2 seasons. In early 2018, Jordan Hicks, a 21-year-old in the Cardinals organization, was generating buzz for his fastball that sat consistently around 102. 20 games into his career, he put this on display when he hit 105 twice in one game. This made him the second player to ever join the 105 club. At this time, there was belief that Hicks had potential to break Chapman's record. However, Tommy John surgery in 2019 and the pandemic in 2020 quickly took him out of the race. Today, Hicks is 27, and he's moved to a role as a starting pitcher, where he's taken a more conservative approach, not chasing max velocity like he used to. Hicks has not thrown any pitches over 100 miles per hour through the 2024 season, and it looks like he may have missed his window to beat Chapman's record. Although, we've recently been introduced to a new player who's the closest thing we've ever seen to Aroldis Chapman.
Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce. People came to see us. Ben Joyce, the hardest thrower in the world. How about that?
In college in 2022, Tennessee pitcher Ben Joyce went viral for throwing 3 pitches clocked at 105 miles per hour in one game. His top speed reached 105.5 miles per hour. This broke an NCAA record. His 105.5 mile per hour pitch made him the second hardest throwing pitcher ever recorded at any level. It didn't take long for Joyce to fly onto the radar of MLB scouts, and the Angels took a look at him with the 89th pick in the 2022 MLB draft. Joyce was called up at just 22 years old, less than a year after being drafted, and he struggled early on. Nevertheless, in 2024, Joyce bounced back, and he was throwing as hard as he did in his final year of college. He's hit 104 miles per hour 11 times in 2024. That is more than any pitcher has ever thrown in a single season. And with one pitch, Ben Joyce became the closest man to ever reach Aroldis Chapman's record in an MLB game.
Swing and a miss, strike three. It was 105.5 miles an hour.
No way! 105.5? Are you kidding me?
Joyce's 105.5 mile per hour pitch was the fastest strikeout pitch ever and the third fastest pitch of all time. In 2024, Joyce is the game's hardest thrower at 23 years old, and he sits to be the best candidate to reach the world record achievement of 106 miles per hour. But what if I told you he wasn't alone, and there was still a man who could get this mark who is 13 years older than him? The date is August 7th, 2024. The Pittsburgh Pirates are up 6-5 against the San Diego Padres in the 8th inning, and in comes Aroldis Chapman for a relief appearance at the age of 36. Chapman at this point has been on 6 different teams, and this is his 15th season in the majors. He hasn't thrown 105 miles per hour since 2016, but against Manny Machado with 2 outs and the game on the line, Chapman reminds us who he was.
Wow, 105.
Can't let anything go by.
105.
105.1. That was a legit 105.
See it live. I mean, it was a hell of a pitch by him, and I barely saw it. I think the umpire barely saw it too. Yeah, it was pretty impressive there.
Chapman was back in the 105 mile per hour club 12,850 pitches and 14 years after he set the record, and became the first person to ever reach this mark. Normally, players reach their max velocity between 22 and 24 years old. So Chapman reaching 105 again at 36 is just absurd. This was a truly remarkable moment where Chapman's career came full circle. In an era where velocity has become the new normal, where seemingly every team boasts a pitcher capable of hitting triple digits, Aroldis Chapman's return to the 105 mark in 2024 was more than just another milestone. It was a reminder of his legacy, of a time when 105 miles per hour was just a myth, a number reserved for the imagination. His journey from a young Cuban defector to the most feared pitcher in baseball, breaking records and then shattering his own, had come full circle. On that August night, Chapman didn't just throw a fastball. He defied time, silencing the doubters, and reclaimed his throne as the king of velocity. But now the torch passes to a new generation. Ben Joyce, with youth and potential on his side, stands poised to break what has long seemed as unbreakable. His 105 mile per hour fastball teeters on the edge of history. With every pitch he throws, baseball inches closer to that next impossible number, 106 miles per hour. This is more than a race against radar guns. It's a test of human limits, a pursuit of greatness in a game where records are meant to be broken. 102 miles per hour was once seen as almost impossible. Then the human limit was pushed to 103, then 104, then 105. And just like Chapman, the next flamethrower will come, armed with the raw power to take the sport to heights never before imagined. The question is no longer if the record will fall, but when. This was just the race to 106 miles per hour so far, but it's far from over.